I'm working the doll witch, where I take science and a little bit of magic to make my dolls their very best selves. And so today is the third video in the hair punching series. I believe that I'm probably only going to do one more, and that will just be a wrap-up video of like how to seal the TPE and the hair and how to care for it and maintain it, okay? And so the reason why is I've made some pretty good progress. It's been raining, so I had nothing else to do. So I made pretty good progress on Exil's goatee. And so if you look right here, I've got this whole side done. I've got his chin done. And yes, I've kept it long. One is I can see how the hair is laying. It helps me to know that I've punched the hair in correctly. The other is I have no idea how to cut this and style a goatee. So I have a friend who's a hairstylist, and he's going to be coming into town here in the next week. And he said that he would style it for me because I have no idea what to do about that. So thank goodness you have, talented friends that can, pick up where you leave off. And so on his goatee, I just need to finish that side. I'm still using the same model, and if you notice, showing you this, see how it's darker here. I talked about this in the second video. It's darker here. There's some color gradation through here. Underneath there's a little bit more white that you'll see. Just kind of following along with the model that I have, except the difference is with that model, because I'm using, Christopher Pine's goatee. I'll move this over here. So I'm using this model of his goatee, and I made that bigger so I could see it. You can see where his is blonde. With Exil, I use the dark, the dark gray and black, and for that. And so I think I've probably worked so far about 13-14 hours, and I have about 3 to 5 hours left. And so that's a lot of work, but it was well within my 20-hour time frame, because if you remember in the first and second video I talked about it, I'm giving myself about 20 hours to do this, and so finished it well. I'll be finishing well within my time frame. A friend of mine who is on the doll forum had sent me a link to another thread on the forum about one of the manufacturers, XYCOLO. I don't know how that's pronounced or if it is pronounced, but they're a manufacturer of these dolls. And on this thread, they talked about implanting a whole head of hair. And I will say the examples they showed were amazing. And they're artists, and that's what they call them, artists. They said on that thread, they said it takes 30 days of punching in a head of hair. I don't know if 30 days, if that's a full day every day. If that's getting weekends off, or if that is a, straight 30 days of hair punching. My guess is, 7 to 8 hours, maybe even more than that a day. And so, I don't think I'm that ambitious, but it looked fabulous, just like Exil's goatee looks fabulous. So it's what you're willing to put out for your doll to get it how you want it to be. And so I do want to really emphasize about how important it is to have a model for eyebrows, goatee, if you're going to do a head of hair, if you're going to do like body hair. And here's why. So I'm going to pan this down a little bit, and so on this side you can see right here, I just put a little bit of hair in here because you see on his goatee there's just a little bit of hair in that area. Another thing is, so if I hadn't had this model, I would probably have screwed this up because, and I know it's hard to see, but see how down here, I didn't punch hair up to his nostril, to his nose. I probably would have done that had I not had the model to look at. Because, like I said, I have I don't know how to I don't know about men's facial hair, so I had to do a lot of studying to do that. So I do recommend have a model. At least gives you an idea where you're going and where not to go, right? And so, and having the different shades of color I use this model here to let me know where I wanted the light, the white hairs, the dark hairs. Now the difference is I'm used where, Christopher has blonde hair, I'm using black and dark gray because that's what I wanted for Exil. So here's something to keep in mind when you're hair punching and doing a lot of modifications on these dolls is realism. And here's the thing about realism. Realism is not symmetrical. It's not perfect, right? And that's one thing that I think for some of us, you kind of have that dystopic feeling about your doll because they're too perfect, right? When I was doing Exil's aging his face, and I've had a lot of people go, I wish you would have made a video over that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I did it before I even, it was just one of those things. I needed to I didn't know to do this, right? And the thing about the human face is we don't age symmetrically. I really struggled with trying to, the lines be the same on both sides, his laugh lines, the crow's feet, even on his forehead and things like that. Really struggled with not making those identical on both sides. And hair punching is the same way. We don't grow hair naturally symmetrically, right? Even like my eyebrows, to get my eyebrows, I have to pluck them to get them symmetrical because they don't normally grow that way. And that's the way human hair is. And so I did, there's on the doll forum, there's a member there who does some very amazing realism with his dolls, like painting the faces to make them look very real. And one thing that he did, and him and I've talked back and forth about this, is, how we have peach fuzz on our skin? He figured out how to do that. And so what he did, he has a wooling tool, and or I don't know if that's exactly what it's called, but it's like a handle, like a wooden or plastic handle, and it has anywhere from 5 to 10 spikes in it. And then you take wool, like lamb's wool, and you lay it over the skin, and then you take this tool and you punch it in. And that gives you that peach fuzz. It's amazing. And so I will say I probably am going to end up doing that with Exil because I love that realism and that, making my dolls look as realistic as possible, as human as possible. And so I will do a video over that. I still need to order the wool and the tool. It's not super expensive. It's a whole art form, which is amazing. And so that's something, and I'll do a video over it so you can see how it's done. I will prepare the skin just like I would for hair punching. Put clean it, put the primer on there, and then, let it set and dry, then punch in the wool, let that set overnight, then go back and clean it with alcohol, and then powder it and, oil and powder it, and that should be just fine. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. And so, like I said, I have probably about 3 to 5 more hours of work, and I'm just going to show you a little bit about punching the hair. So I had to wash his face again, and because of that, I have to redo the primer. And so one of my friends was like, why don't you just prime it as you go? And I was like, well, here's the thing. I started getting into hair punching, and it becomes kind of one of these like mechanical things. You just do it without thinking. And then I'd go beyond where I had primed it, and I'd have to go back and redo that. And I was like, no. So I was like, no, that's not why I do that. So I have my 3M 94 tape primer and let me get a paintbrush. Okay. And so let me show you. I'm going to just prime the TPE so you can see. I'm going to kind of angle this down. So I basically only have like this here left. And then I'll do a little bit of hair punching in here just to kind of fill that a little bit, not much. I did that over on this side. See, there's just a little spiky pieces in there. Not filled it in, but just put a little pieces. And then here, so looking at different goatees, I noticed that most men, the hair right here under the septum is grows kind of straight down. So I'll be doing that a little bit differently. So let me show you about priming this area. Take my primer and just kind of going over the area that I'm going to be hair punching in. Yeah, I'm going to get that a little closer to his mouth because that actually... Okay. Now, we'll say the second side's always harder than the first because you've got this already done, and now you're going to make it where it's close. It doesn't have to match perfectly, but you want it close. So let me clean my brush real quick and also let that dry. And so, and that's part of the reason why I kept this longest, so I can go back in here and see like where I punched the hair in and just see where that's at. All right, so that needs to dry a little bit, give that a few moments. And so one thing that I'm going to do, now I did his whole face was washed, but I did not powder it because I'm going to be, I have to clean it and put the primer, reprime it, and so I did not wash his face. So TPE, if it's not powdered, everything on the planet sticks to it. If there is a speck of dust in your house, it will find its way to your doll's face. Living out in the country like I do, that's even more of an issue. And so I'm covering this with the plastic wrap for two reasons, not just to keep it clean, but also when I'm punching in the hair so that it doesn't stick to the TPE as I'm punching it in, because let me tell you, that is a pain in the butt. Now, I know this looks pretty rough. I'm actually going to take a pin. I'm going to stick a pin in here, keep that plastic wrap right there. I'm not going to do it up here, but I'm just doing it down here because you don't see that area anyway. And so it's primed, it's ready to go. I'm going to turn this a little bit. I'm going to show you practice doing I'm going to just do a little bit of hair punching. I'm going to get this a little closer so you can see, hopefully. All right. So one thing that I did, because I was, it was raining, as I bundled the hair up in the color that I wanted. And this is darker here than down here because, going by my model. And so I have I know this doesn't look like a lot of hair, but this is a lot of hair. And so I took a piece off. And how I punch my hair, and you'll find your own way. I know I've seen hair puncher people who do this, and they'll punch it in like this. I actually like to hold my hair like this, and then I have my hair punching tool, right? And it's the U. I know it's hard to see, and so I hold it like this, and I pull. And the reason why I made my own needle is one side's longer than the other, so it helps catch the hair. And just grab the hair and punch it in. Now, remember, the angle that you're punching your tool is the angle the hair is going to lay. So if I did this, my hair is going to be sticking straight up. But since I want this hair to lay down this way, I am just... And you're just doing a few hairs at a time, probably no more than 3. Usually 1 or 2. That's why this is so time consuming. Part of the reason why you don't want to put any too many hairs in is that then it starts looking like doll hair, like Barbie doll hair. For those of you who remember Barbie dolls, or your Ken dolls or your G.I. Joe dolls that had the hair, they just put wads of hair and punch it in. Well, I'm going to do that because that doesn't look real. Very realistic, and that's the whole point of the hair punching, is making sure you're getting that realism. Now see, the other reason why I put that plastic there is to keep this from sticking, although it's not being cooperative. So about ready to put a pin there. So you just punch it in some hairs and you'll find your rhythm. It just takes a bit of time. How to hold the hair, how to hold the needle. You'll find your way of doing it. Now, so say you you going along and you're like, oh, you know, and I periodically go through and say, do I have any bold spots, right? And oop, there is a big old bald spot. So here's how you take care of a bald spot. So you grab a couple strands of hair. There we go. Oops. I do it much better when I'm not on camera, folks, honestly. So, got a hair. And there's a couple ways you can do it. I caught the hair, and then you spin it around your needle. Okay. Hold the hair, find your bald spot, and stick it in there, right? And just go in there and keep doing that until you filled in the spot that you've missed, okay? And it's a, oops, here's an extra hair, and I got that bald spot's pretty good size, so I am actually going to put 2 hairs there. Now, when you're doing multiple hairs, the one thing I want to caution you is it doesn't fill in space. It just makes it fuller. Okay, so that's another reason why thinking about how full you want it. Do you want to punch in 2 or 3 hairs every time? Because that's going to make it really full. And that, you know, I've done that with his goatee because I want it really full. But and also using the brush, because the brush will catch if you've got loose hairs. And you know, you can see there's a bunch of loose hair. I don't know if you can see that, but there are some loose hairs on there. Because you want to get those loose hairs. And also using this little toothbrush helps me. It also helps me go in and make sure and kind of make the hair lay like I want it to, because you know, you don't want it to lay. You kind of train the hair to lay a specific way. And so that is the basics of hair punching. The next video that I will be doing will just be a wrap-up video on how to seal the TPE in the hair, and just kind of some general maintenance and care tips on how to maintain this. With the Zeal, I've had to punch in, I had to add some to his eyebrow, and I had periodically go back with the primer on his chest, like on his body hair, and put a little bit of primer on. When I clean him, then I re-put the cover it with primer, let that sit and dry, and then oil and powder like normal, and it's just fine. So if you have any questions or concerns, leave a message in the comment section. We always appreciate if you give us a like and subscribe, because when you subscribe, then you get notified when new videos are loaded. And once again, I am Morgana the Doll Witch, where I take science and a little bit of magic to make my dolls their very best selves.